TUSD is losing $270 million of federal funding. That's quite a dent. Some suggestions of cutting administrative staff, notably assistant principals, were thrown around, but the board deferred voting on that. ESSER is a COVID relief funding package that was provided by the federal government, and it came in 3 packages. The third package ends September 30th. TUSD is not only losing ESSER funds, but we're also predicted to lose some Title I funds, which are funds also provided by the federal government based on how many students in poverty are in your district, basically. Not only that, but TUSD is experiencing a decline in enrollment. TUSD Superintendent Trujillo said that the district lost 900 students, which resulted in a loss of $7 million. These students are going to charter and private schools instead. I spoke to Robert Thompson, the assistant principal of security and safety at Tucson High Magnet School, and he provided some suggestions on how we can really get people going to TUSD instead of these darn charter and private schools. All right, now could you please introduce yourself?
Roberto Thompson. I go by Rob Thompson. I'm the assistant principal at Tucson Magnet High School in charge of safety and security. But what we probably need to be looking at in the 21st century is hybrid models of schools. What does that look like when a kid only needs to come for one period and then leave? Or they can go completely remote and then come in and take a test. There's a business model. When if you don't make sales, you close your business. So again, if you don't have enrollments, consolidation will help do things like that. It's kind of like marketing. You don't market people who already buy your product. You're marketing people who aren't buying your product.
Do you have any alternative budget cuts that you would suggest to the district?
The reality is they have to decide what's the best thing for the district and what's the best thing long term. So again, I think one of the accomplishments that we had is by creating a virtual school for ourselves. I kind of feel like we need to continue in that direction and get a true alternative school. Then you can also create what's called hybrid schools. Fortunately, you have to think kind of like an economist. We need to market programs. So I think one of the things that would benefit the district is to get some public partnerships that will help fund it. Say, okay, Raytheon, you're going to pay for these 5 kids their college degrees. Then they're going to guarantee they're going to work for you for 5-6 years, whatever is marketable for you to get your investment back. But what we truly need to do is you need to invest in them.
The district did cut administrative spending by 5% in order to keep COVID relief funded counseling, social workers, and instructional coaches. District members are trying to figure out how to fund the ESSER-funded specialists that were brought on. I spoke to board member Dr. Ravi Shah, and he gave me some insights into the district and what he's thinking in regard to funding. What would you say is the hardest part about being a board member?
I think there's a lot of different needs in the district and a lot of different groups that have their own kind of opinion on how to go about doing things. We have a limited budget, and we wish we can do everything we wanted to do for every single student, but we do have a finite budget.
In terms of funding, I know that from what I've seen, a lot of it is reallocating funds from other departments. Is there any specific departments that you think not could use less money? Because I know all of them could use money, but any specific departments you think won't just absolutely fail if you took a little bit from them?
Well, I think our focus, we are losing $270 million of federal funding. We had a really good number of money coming in from 3 different COVID relief packages that passed the federal government. So we have $270 million of COVID relief funding that's all expiring come September. And a lot of that money was spent on one-time things like infrastructure and changes in our schools, outdoor learning spaces, different facilities. So a lot of that money was spent on one-time expenditures. A lot of it was spent on positions that were really bent on trying to address learning loss and student achievement. A lot of positions that we've been talking about, the RTI positions, response to intervention, which are math teachers and reading teachers and language teachers that are taking students from the larger classrooms to do small group instruction. and to take them one-on-one or small group times where they can work on some intensive reading coaching and math coaching when the students need it. We're talking about MTSS facilitators that are embedded within the schools. Take a look at all the students that are struggling in one way or the other and help develop a plan for those students. CSPs, which are curriculum service providers, which are individuals in the schools that work on specific teacher training programs to make sure that teachers have what they need to be successful with the students that are struggling. Along with some other positions that we're trying, counselors and social workers that we know address mental health and how those relate to, if our students are affected by mental health and other issues, they're not going to be able to be ready for learning and growth. So these are some of the positions that we're trying to save in a post-COVID or post-ESSER funding world. So those are ones that we've prioritized in terms of positions that are directly working with students and directly have impact on student outcomes and achievement.
There's a direct correlation between improved student performances and the presence of specialists. Pre-pandemic, TUSD had 5 F schools, but they managed to bring that down to 0. In 2022, 33 schools had increased their letter grade. And in 2023, 25 schools increased their letter grade.
So we're looking at a lot of administrative costs. So the proposal that you saw, that there was some call to the audience that were attacking us, I think those attacks were really unfair.
Who do you think you are? To the best of my knowledge, Donald Trump is the only person so far who violates laws and gets away with it.
And really had a poor understanding of what we were actually trying to do.
To you three, the majority, Natalie, Ravi, Jennifer, when I came here and encouraged you to appoint Sadie as your chair, the only African-American woman in elected office, it was a 3-2 vote, and I had a tingling you were prejudiced. The very next board meeting, you're trying to cut funds for African-American children. Are they not as good as yours? Are not every child in God's eyes special? Well, I'm from Sunnyside, not from TUSD. If I'm correct, Luna and Ravi are up for election. Get somebody who loves every child.
We were looking to eliminate some administrative positions in our DEI department to replace them with the teaching positions that are working with minority students to really help improve student achievement and outcomes. We're looking at other ways we can save some costs within our desegregation budget so that we can focus that money on these positions that are working directly with our minority students to help with academic achievement. We're looking at the 5% administrative across the board maintenance operations budget cut that came from a discussion I had with the superintendent. Like, hey, what if we try this instead? What if we spread the pain? You get a 5% administrative cost reduction across the board on all of our non-student facing departments.
There was a formula mentioned for the recommended assistant principals, which is 600 students to 1. And with that formula, we should have 26, but we're at 54, which is over 2 times the amount. Have we seen any major improvements with this just huge amount of assistant principals?
No, we're working with Eli, which is a union that represents principals, assistant principals, I think psychologists and research positions and a few other positions in the district. We're working with them to kind of figure out, what the schools really need in terms of support. Can we lower slightly that ratio of 600, a school with 550, they probably need some extra support than just a principal on site. So, my idea is for itinerant positions, which is, some people are in favor, some people aren't. That means maybe if you're at a 300 or 400 or 450 size school, instead of a full-time assistant principal, maybe you'll have a half-time assistant principal. So every Monday and Tuesday you get one, every Thursday and Friday assistant principal at another school.
Are you guys looking for any long-term solutions in finding funding that aren't any, relying on Title I grants, which we might lose in 2025, was it? We're losing
the budget is definitely being cut for Title I going to next year. So we're planning for a reduced budget. And yeah, we're advocating, with everyone, all the state reps and state senators in Tucson are on our speed dial. We have a lobbyist in Phoenix that is really advocating for funding, along with a number of other issues that our schools are facing. So we are doing what we can to join other school districts and advocating for proper state funding of public education throughout Arizona, and including in Tucson.
Is there any way that you think that teachers or community members or students can help you guys do your job?
Well, I think we need to hear more from people directly affected by what's going on in our district. a lot of folks, in the call to the audience that we hear from the loudest voices in the room, one of them admitted he was from Sunnyside. He had no relationship to our district. One of them, had her kids already graduate from the district, and she has no direct relationship right now with our district. We don't hear a lot from the students and parents and community members and teachers and staff directly affected by the work in TUSD. We want to hear the good, bad, and the ugly. We want to hear more good. We want to hear what's going well. Hey, this is going great. Don't touch this program. I'm really happy with this. This is, we need to know what is going well so we know what to support and what to continue. And we need to know what's not going well so that we can, course correct and make adjustments and help support our leadership team in making those corrections and adjustments as we. Yeah, like I was saying, we need to hear more of the good. We need to hear from students and teachers and parents about what's going well in the district, so we know what programs to support, what to expand throughout our district, things that are going well, how we can continue improving our schools. We also need to hear what's not going well so we can course correct and work with our district leadership team that we have to make changes to our district.
So how do we fix this ever-looming problem of lack of funding in public education? Dr. Ravi Shah says that the district is currently trying to get more state funding. And Assistant Principal Robert Thompson was suggesting treating this thing like a business and just trying to advertise and get more people to come in. The ESSER-funded specialists greatly improved these schools, and if only we had more federal funding, we could continue to improve these students' education and their overall experience at schools. Schools, and most importantly, students, deserve much more than they are getting currently. That's it.